The white space that you can see around the mug handle is not something that you can avoid when it comes to using mugs in the Cricut Mugpress. Yes, I know that there are ways that you can use templates and shrink wrap to make these kinds of mugs in the oven, but that's not my preferred way of making mugs. I prefer the super easy route. So I decided to take this white space that's inevitable in the method that I use to make mugs and use it to my advantage of creating a little fun kind of almost hidden design on the side of the mugs. So I'm going to show you how to make a template that uses this negative space to your advantage. My name is Kelly Rossouw and let's get clacking. So in Cricut Design Space on a new canvas, we're going to go to Images. I'm going to select Browse All Images as I need to change the project type. So in the filters, I'm going to scroll down to Project Type and scroll down again and select either the 12-ounce or the 15-ounce mugs, depending on which mug you're going to be using. I'm going to be using a 12-ounce mug, so I'm going to select that one. And the mug template that I like to use is this one with the double circles. So I'm going to select that one and add it to my canvas. The first thing I'm going to do is delete the little inner circles as part of that template. And the next few steps you can use and create kind of your own little template for the base mugs. So we're going to select the template itself and use the contour feature to remove out these circles. Now we just have the plain square and the outline of the actual mug template that's going to cut. I'm going to right click and duplicate this one as we're going to be working with them separately. And now we essentially need to separate this mug template. So what you want to have is you want to have one square or rectangle that's just the shape of the area where you can use your mug template. And then the other one is just going to be the outline of the mug template that's going to cut. So we're going to use the contour feature, and on the one we're going to remove the little square in the middle, and then on the other one we're going to click on the top two templates to only have the square. So you can see how we've split it out into two separate things that we're going to use. And we can move this to the side for now as we don't need it right now. The next step to this template is to figure out what you want to have on either side of the mugs. Now, on the left and the right hand side of the template, they are going to wrap around and meet up at the side. So you want to mostly have one half of the design on the left and the other half on the right. But you want them to be kind of mirrored so that when you flip them around, they meet up and either side joins us. So if I use the snowman as an example, I'm going to click on Images. I'm going to clear all the filters and I'm going to type in snowman. Now the type of snowman that I'm going to be looking for here will be relatively wide and not too detailed because I need to be able to split it in half and have it on either side. So you don't want something that's very heavily detailed. We're just looking at the solid shape of the snowman for now. Once I've found the design that I like, and it very often does take me quite a while to find the right design, and sometimes I even pick a design, make the template, and then realize it doesn't work quite well, and then redo it. So don't be afraid to try many different designs depending on the template that you're going for. And I'm going to add that to my canvas. So I'm going to shrink this down so that it's roughly the right size, and I'm going to zoom in. Now this design itself is multiple layers. So I'm going to take the orange layer, and I'm going to delete that as that's not the layer that I want. I'm going to select the mug template and look at the height. Here we can see it's 9.627. So I'm going to copy that number and select my snowman and make it exactly the same height by pasting that value in there. So we can start seeing our design forming. And as cute as the snowman is with his glasses and his carrot and his bow tie and buttons, we won't be able to have all of those designs, unfortunately, in this template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit contour and I'm going to hide all of the contours as it's just the shape of the snowman that we want. If you want to see pretty much the shape of the snowman and how much he's actually going to overlap the edges, we can temporarily change this design from basic cut to pen, just so that it only shows us the outline. But we will have to change it back to basic cut to be able to see what the design is going to look like. So I'm going to change it to pen, And we can see then how much of that design is overlapping on the edge. We don't need a lot of it in the middle. We basically just need the end of it. So it's a very useful step to be able to see just how much of the actual template we're going to lose. Because if we have it in the middle, we're going to have a very wide gap in between the actual mug itself. So what I like to do is shift the mug template up to the edge of where I can have it, and maybe even make the snowman a little bit bigger, because what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the design to cut off here and then to cut off there at the top as well. So essentially I want these sections as close to the edge as I can have them. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to change my design back into a basic cut from pen. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to change that to basic. And I'm going to select both the snowman and the mug template, and I'm going to click slice. Now this little section that we have now cut off, we can move it to the other side of the template by just holding shift on our keyboard and pressing the left arrow. I'm then going to flip it horizontally and move it back. And now we can actually even align it with the design. So we can select them both, click align, and align left. So we know that it's sitting right on the edge of that design, and click slice. Now when we move the template away, we can see that it has half of a snowman on either side. So when it flips around and meets up, we will then have a nice big white gap and the snowman on either side. And all of these little bits, we can delete them because we don't need them anymore. So this will be the base of your mug template. And if you wanted to add some super fun things onto it, but in this case, I'm just going to use some little white dots and slice them out of the main template so that our template has fun little snowflakes on either side. I'm then going to bring our mug template back, select both of them, align and hit center. And from there, our Mugpress template is all ready to go. So I'm going to select attach. We're going to save our design before we hit make it. So I'm going to add it to my Mugpress collection and my Christmas collection and save it as snowman with snowflakes and hit save. And if you want to add a fun saying onto this mug, we can do so. So I'm going to search under images. So I'm going to type in the phrase that I'm looking for and hope to find a nice simple design to use, as we can't really go too detailed when it comes to the infusible ink. And once you've selected the design that you want, you can select both of them, hit align and center so we know it is in the middle of the mug. And if you don't want that design to be permanently there, you can just attach it. Now what this means is it will cut in all of those little places, but if at any point you wanted to change the template, all you need to do is just hide that layer and you can put a different saying there and you won't affect the main template at all. And you'll see exactly what I mean once we start cutting the template itself. So we don't have to worry about slicing it out of that entirely. We can just save our design, hit make it. Remember to mirror your design as you are now working with words. So if we didn't have the words there, we wouldn't have to mirror. But because there are words on this mug, I want to mirror it, as you should remember to mirror when you're cutting with infusible ink. So I'm going to click continue, connect to my machine, and select the infusible ink material. I like to cut my infusible ink on more, as I prefer to have a slightly deeper cut. But please make sure that you have done your test cuts before cutting this material. I prefer to use a standard grip mat with my infusible ink. Use your brayer to make sure that your material sticks down very well to your mat, as you don't want it moving around while it cuts, and cut on your machine. And then we can weed once it's all done. Now that your design has finished cutting, we're going to flip our mat over and remove the mat from the infusible ink. And we can see that we've already cut through the infusible ink in a few places, which is great. So we're just going to pull the rest of the infusible ink off. And if you tear it a little bit and it goes through the plastic, that's okay, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to chance it though, you can take your craft knife and just cut through the last few millimeters of infusible ink. And now we can start weeding it. So I'm going to take my True Control knife weeding kit and I'm going to just dig into the infusible ink and separate it from the backing and just peel it up. It's nice and easy. Make sure that your hands are clean and free from any oils when you're touching the infusible ink, as it does affect the transfer of the product. And then we just repeat the process on the other side as well. And once we are sure that we have all of the snow dots, I'm going to remove the words very carefully. And of course, we're going to be removing the inside of the words because the words themselves are going to be white. And remember that even if you only get the ink off the top layer, that's still fine. If the ink isn't there, it's not going to transfer. So if you don't manage to get everything, it's okay. And there we have it. Our entire design is weeded. Now this is what it should look like. And when you flip it over, you will see how the text is readable. And that's how it is going to go onto our mug. So we're going to start prepping our mug. Now it is important to remember that this is a special sublimation mug. You cannot just buy any mug from any shop in order to use. It needs to be a Cricut mug or a normal sublimation mug that you can get on Amazon, and I will leave links down in the description for you. And if you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up, as it really helps to let YouTube know that this is the kind of content that you enjoy and the kind of content that I should be making more of. Thank you so much. So we're going to stand our mug on the table and we're going to prep our design. First of all, we need to make sure that we have the top of the design at the top. So when you're looking at your design, make sure that it is the right way around. We're then going to wrap our design around our mug and line it up with each other. Now this part is always the one that I struggle with, and I have to end up redoing it a few times. So if that is you, don't worry, it happens to me too. Now, because our hidden design is on the handle side of the mug, it is more important now than ever to get this even on either side. So try and line it up as evenly as you can, remembering also that it is handmade, so it doesn't need to be 100% perfect, but yet we still try. So we want to line our mug up and use the infusible ink sticky sheet to help stick the infusible ink down onto the mug. And once we have it lined up, we're going to look at it again just to make sure that it is even on either side. You won't really be able to get a true look for how the design is now, but once it's done, it will look awesome. So we're going to turn on our mug press and wait for it to warm up. And while we do that, we can just take another look at our design to make sure that it is tight everywhere around the mug and evenly spaced. And once your mug press has beeped, we're going to cover it in a Teflon sheet and place it inside the mug press. You don't need additional paper, as nothing is going to bleed through, so I just use a Teflon sheet, but you're welcome to use an additional sheet of paper if it makes you happy. And we're going to close the mug press, making sure that the handle stays in the middle of this little gap here. So we can see that gap, and we want the handle to be in the middle of this gap. And once we close the mug press down, the timer will start ticking. It'll be roughly 6 minutes. And just before it's done, I'm going to prep the warm water to place the mug into. It mustn't be cold water, as it will crack the mug. The mug press is done now. I was going to say it's almost done. So what we can do is we can lift up the handle and remove the mug, remembering that this is really hot, so please don't touch the mug. I like to use my nails because they're nice and long, but we're going to pull off the infusible ink and dunk it into the water. Now what this does is it rapidly reduces the temperature of the mug and the ink on it to stop the sublimation process. So essentially what it does is if you had to leave the mug without the paper on, the heat would carry the ink upwards, which means that you would get fuzzy lines and things like that. So this isn't the only way to do it, but this is the way that I prefer to do it. I prefer immediate gratification, so I like to cool my mug off immediately and see what it looks like. I'm going to give it a little bit of a dry off so that we can see what the mug looks like. And we can see it says, "Is it Christmas yet?" And on the other side, this mug is still pretty hot or warm. We have our hidden design, which is our adorable little snowman. But if you want to know how to layer infusible ink mugs and maybe add something extra to this side, take a look at this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Cricut tutorials in the future. And remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.